This is part 5 of mythical creatures you won't believe are real. Across history, people didn't just imagine monsters, they described them in disturbing detail. Their size, their behavior, the danger they posed. And in many cases, those descriptions came long before science had answers. Tonight, we're breaking down 7 more legendary creatures and why their stories may not be as fictional as they sound. Cyclops. The one-eyed giant. The Cyclops is one of the most recognizable figures in Greek mythology, and one of the earliest giant creatures described in detail. Ancient Greek sources portray Cyclopes as large humanoid beings, often estimated to be several meters tall with immense strength and a single eye positioned in the center of the forehead. They were said to live in caves and remote mountainous regions, isolated from human settlements, surviving through hunting, herding, and brute force. However, Cyclopes were not depicted solely as violent monsters. In early mythology, particularly in Hesiod's writings, certain Cyclopes were described as master craftsmen and blacksmiths, credited with forging Zeus's thunderbolts, Poseidon's trident, and Hades' helmet of invisibility. The origin of the one-eyed description has long been debated. One leading explanation involves ancient elephant skulls, which were occasionally found in caves and rocky regions. These skulls feature a large central nasal cavity that, without anatomical knowledge, could easily be mistaken for a single massive eye socket. To early observers, such a discovery could suggest the remains of a giant, one-eyed humanoid. Today, Cyclopes remain deeply embedded in popular culture, appearing in Clash of the Titans, Percy Jackson, God of War, and numerous fantasy settings, a legacy likely rooted in real discoveries that ancient people struggled to explain. Cerberus, the guardian of the underworld. Cerberus wasn't a creature you hunted. It was a creature you feared because it stood between the living and the dead. Described as a massive dog with 3 heads, razor-sharp teeth, and sometimes a serpent tail, Cerberus guarded the entrance to the underworld. Its job was simple: keep the dead from escaping and the living from entering. But here's the detail people often overlook. Cerberus didn't roam the world. It didn't terrorize villages. It stayed in one place, guarding a boundary humans feared more than any monster. Some scholars believe Cerberus wasn't meant to be taken literally, but symbolized death itself, an unavoidable force that could not be reasoned with or defeated. Others suggest the myth may have been inspired by large, aggressive guard dogs or wolves, bred and trained to protect sacred or restricted spaces. Cerberus remains one of the most recognizable creatures in pop culture, from God of War to Hades to fantasy games, because the idea it represents is universal. Cross this line, and you don't come back. Chimera, the ultimate hybrid monster. The Chimera is one of the most visually striking creatures described in Greek mythology. Ancient sources describe it as a large, land-based creature, roughly the size of a lion with the body of a lion, a goat's head emerging from its back, and a serpent forming its tail. Some versions of the legend also claim it could breathe fire, making it even more dangerous. The Chimera was said to inhabit remote, mountainous regions of Lycia, in what is now modern-day Turkey. According to legend, it repeatedly attacked livestock and nearby villages, becoming a long-term threat rather than a single encounter. Greek myths describe the Chimera as unnaturally aggressive, not hunting for survival, but destroying indiscriminately. It represented chaos, a creature that did not belong to the natural order. The legend originates from ancient Greek writings, including references by Homer and later authors. One possible real-world explanation involves fossil beds, where remains of lions, goats, and reptiles were found close together. Without scientific knowledge, these discoveries could easily be interpreted as a single hybrid animal. The Chimera may have been an attempt to explain something real that didn't fit existing categories. Today, it remains widely recognized through Monster Hunter, God of War, Dungeons & Dragons, and other fantasy media because the idea of a creature built from multiple animals still feels disturbingly plausible. Basilisk, the king of serpents. The basilisk was considered one of the most dangerous creatures in medieval folklore, despite not being the largest. Medieval bestiaries described it as a serpent or lizard, often only several feet long, sometimes marked with a crown-like symbol on its head. Legends claimed it could kill with a single stare, poison the air around it, and cause plants to wither simply by passing through an area. Animals were said to die before making contact. Unlike larger mythical beasts, the basilisk was believed to hide in deserts, caves, abandoned ruins, and remote wastelands, striking without warning. The legend traces back to ancient Greek and Roman writings, later expanded in medieval Europe. Many historians believe it was inspired by encounters with highly venomous snakes, especially cobras, whose upright posture, fixed stare, and fast-acting venom appeared deadly to people without medical knowledge. Today, the basilisk remains widely known through Harry Potter, The Witcher, and fantasy games, representing a simple fear, a small, hidden creature capable of killing before it's seen. Cockatrice, a legend, born from fear. The cockatrice was described in medieval Europe as a small but deadly hybrid creature, roughly the size of a large snake or rooster. Most accounts describe it with the body of a serpent, wings, and the head or legs of a rooster. According to legend, it lived in dry, isolated areas, abandoned buildings, and ruins, avoiding populated regions unless disturbed. Despite its size, the cockatrice was considered extremely dangerous. Medieval texts claimed it could kill with its breath, poison the ground it touched, and in some versions, turn living beings to stone through eye contact. The legend originated in Europe during the Middle Ages, first appearing in bestiaries and religious texts. It was believed to be born from a rooster's egg, hatched by a toad or serpent, an event considered unnatural and cursed. Symbolically, the cockatrice represented nature corrupted, a warning about disorder, disease, and the dangers of the unknown. Some historians believe the legend may have been inspired by exotic reptiles brought to Europe through trade routes, combined with sightings of malformed animals and a lack of biological understanding. The cockatrice remains widely recognized today, appearing in Final Fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons, and medieval artwork. Harpies, predators from above. Harpies were described in ancient Greek sources as fast, airborne predators, not slow or lumbering monsters. According to classical texts, they had the body, wings, and talons of large birds, combined with a human female face. Their wingspan was often described as wide enough to blot out the sun briefly during a dive, suggesting a size comparable to large birds of prey. Harpies were said to inhabit rocky coastlines, cliffs, and high mountain regions, places where sudden aerial attacks were possible and escape routes were limited. They did not hunt by chasing. Instead, legends describe them attacking without warning, diving from above at high speed. Accounts claim they could snatch food, animals, and sometimes people, carrying them away before victims could react. Physically, harpies were known for razor-sharp talons, hooked beaks, and exceptional agility in flight. Mentally, they were portrayed as intelligent and deliberate, often targeting victims repeatedly rather than randomly. The harpy legend originated in ancient Greece, with early references appearing in works by Hesiod and Homer. In mythology, harpies were not merely animals, but agents of divine punishment, sent by the gods to torment individuals by stealing food, contaminating surroundings, and prolonging suffering rather than delivering death. Some historians suggest harpies may have been inspired by encounters with large birds of prey, such as eagles or vultures, observed attacking livestock, or descending suddenly on humans. To ancient observers, a large bird diving at full speed from the sky would have appeared unnatural and terrifying. Harpies remain widely recognized today, appearing in video games, anime, films, and fantasy series. A reminder that aerial predators have always represented a uniquely human fear. Danger that comes from above, strikes instantly, and leaves no time to react. Kelpie, the deadliest water spirit. The Kelpie was not described as a creature that attacked openly. According to Scottish folklore, it relied on deception. Kelpies were said to appear as full-sized horses, often described as strong, healthy, and well-formed, standing quietly beside rivers, lochs, and narrow stretches of water. Witness accounts in folklore emphasize their wet, glossy coats and calm behavior, giving no immediate sign of danger. This appearance was central to the legend. Travelers, children, or lone riders were said to approach the horse out of curiosity. Some stories claim the Kelpie allowed people to touch it or mount it, reinforcing the belief that the animal was harmless. The danger began at that moment. Legends consistently describe the Kelpie's skin becoming unnaturally adhesive, preventing the rider from dismounting. Once mounted, the creature would run directly into the water, dragging the victim beneath the surface. Accounts emphasize that once submerged, escape was nearly impossible. Kelpies were believed to inhabit deep, fast-moving rivers and lochs, environments known for strong currents, freezing temperatures, and sudden depth changes. Folklore also includes reports of missing livestock near these bodies of water, reinforcing the belief that something was responsible. The origin of the Kelpie legend is closely tied to Scotland's geography. Many rivers and lochs were historically dangerous, and accidental drownings were common. The Kelpie may have functioned as a warning figure, explaining disappearances and discouraging people from approaching hazardous water alone. Rather than framing the danger as environmental, the legend gave it intent. Today, the Kelpie remains a prominent figure in Scottish culture, appearing in films, video games, literature, and large public sculptures. The story endures not because of fantasy alone, but because it reflects a real and persistent danger water that appears calm, but can become deadly without warning. Some of these creatures were shaped by fear, some by misunderstanding, some by real discoveries without explanations. But myths don't survive for thousands of years by accident. If you enjoyed part 5 of Mythical Creatures You Won't Believe Are Real, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Because history keeps reminding us of one thing: legends usually start with something real.